Hello there, it's Dr. Bechtel, and in relation to exploring the legal profession and whether it's something you have an interest in or may have some curiosity about for whatever reason, interest or just because you're curious, I want to show you this give you this presentation on the stratification of the legal profession. I think it's telling and says a lot about the profession and where you might be interested in following. In the beginning, lawyers had a low status in America because, unless they were prominent in American government. But the standards to become a lawyer were becoming more lax, and or they were becoming less lax, excuse me. They were becoming improved by the ABA. And this promoted more appreciation of lawyers in America. In 1900 was when the ABA, the American Bar Association, became involved in legal education approval. And this helped to improve the status of lawyers. And also it ensued a stratification of the profession. I mean, I don't know if it directly did, but all of these events point to the reasons for ensuing of the stratification. So, there are three strata. Stratum 1, these are the national law firms, the big ones, the ones that have remote offices here and there and everywhere. Stratum 2 are the corporate counsel for leading companies and the select government attorney types of positions. Stratum 3, and the pyramid is meant to illustrate also the sizes of these types of these groups of strata. So Stratum 3 are solo practitioners, small law firms, and attorneys for small corporations and government attorneys. Stratum 1 developed from the Cravath system. Paul D. Cravath was a Columbia Law School graduate, and in 1906 he became head of a Wall Street law firm. And his job was to recruit associates who were coming right out of law school. And the ideal recruit would be a young lawyer who had no bad habits like older lawyers have developed over time. He provided internships that were very demanding. They had very long hours and hard work. The Cravath lawyer had expectations to be wholly devoted and loyal to the client, and they worked as a generalist in the law, and then they learned to specialize. And I'll say today the difference is, yes, there are generalist areas. The term black letter law comes into play. All lawyers need the black letter law. But in law school, they're also enabling a specialized area that they intend to practice in. In the 10th year as being a Cravath lawyer, they became a partner or they left the firm. Partnership is a big deal in law. It brings a lawyer into the ownership circle of the firm. The process then to partnership was to apprentice, where you're under intense supervision. You're supervised by the partners. And then becoming an associate is the next level, where autonomy in the work process and case handling was more prominent to the associate attorney. They'll be handling less important clients though. And then they also help with the recruitment activities of the firm. The partnership track, my experience in like a partnership type law firm where it was the Stratum 1 actually where I worked. They hired associates and they hired partnership track. Associates were rarely even thinking about partnership, so thus the two different types, the two different categories, I should say. But the main idea of partnership is an ownership interest. And one of the quotes from this book that I use to, which is, there's a reference at the end of this presentation, One of the quotes I liked was, top law firms take a lot of lawyers out of law school, work them unmercifully, and over time, they weed them out to those who are not going to make it. Today's system is different from the Kravis system. There's less training in the generalist area. This can be attributed to law school curriculum and to the idea that the concept that no matter what, as I pointed out earlier, the generalist training is the black letter law stuff that everyone needs to leave law school with, or you wouldn't pass law school. You wouldn't have a Juris Doctorate degree. So they take a narrow focus on specialization early in training, so it's narrow, and it gradually specialization improves. And if they are the rainmaker, that's another terminology used in law firms, the large law firms, they're heavily rewarded. They're spending less time with their clients, and but the partners, they're spending the unlimited amount of time with their wealthy clients. They're more profit-oriented than the associate. It's resulted in less loyalty, and clients began getting lured away by competing firms. Stratum 1 law firm has departments. It'll have the corporate department, banking department, real estate, litigation, etc. And lawyers are the specialists that coordinate the work. So there'll be a managing partner, usually it's a partner, of the corporate or the banking or the real estate, maybe more than one depending on the size of that department. Services they provide in the Stratum 1 are counseling, negotiation, and representation. So keep that in mind. They're in the prevention field in the Stratum 1 firms. So they're doing something, their services are, they do litigation, but they're doing the type of work that lawyers do to help business, for example, prevent legal problems. Paper litigators, those are, litigation is, when we'll get to that in another session, but litigation means taking depositions, exchanging motions. Paper litigators are, this is another quote that was rather fun, incapable of trying a case because they're so good at doing it on paper, I guess. But firms will recruit former prosecutors to help defend corporate clients for corporate crime. The business of a stratum, who they get, what clients they have, their business wraps around blue chip corporations. They employ the graduates with the good grades from the top law schools. It's very competitive. The Stratum 1 firms look for people to recruit with the right social background. Back in the day, this effectively kept some particular Catholics and Jews, for example, blacks and females out of the Stratum 1 firms. And partners were overwhelmingly white males. But today, women make up for 13% of partners, and this is older. This is a 2008 book. It's probably higher now. I think I have a more recent book somewhere. I haven't looked at it. So it's grown in terms of women and their role in Stratum 1 firms. And they give the example in this article that I brought this from in 1999, Baker and McKinsey, which is a huge law firm. 91% are men, but chose a woman as a firm chairperson. That's the person that is like the chair of the academic department. Law firm size has a strong relationship to prestige. The larger, the more prestigious. And one prediction is that these are going to increase a lot with the glut of lawyers leaving law school and having no jobs. The largest law firms have a total of 4,500 lawyers, so that's a lot of lawyers. The firm I worked for in the 90s, this was a long time ago, had actually, I believe, 600 lawyers. The services they provide to business in the large firms, they deal more with the global concerns. They'll have offices throughout the world, and it's one-stop shopping, but diverse services, and some non-legal services, such as investigations and money management are part of the service of large firms. This one-stop shopping, the diverse services have have with them some inherent ethical components that have to be observed because they're not always involved in an attorney-client relationship. Investigations and money management may not be considered, well, isn't really considered. It's a non-legal service, so there's no attorney-client privilege. That legal service has to exist for attorney-client privilege to be applicable. So in the large firms, profits are earned by working the associates. The partners are their supervisors, and they earn their money based on what the associates bill. The partners are the finders, so they find the work, and the associates are the grinders, so they do the work. The competition for graduates from elite law schools is very heavy. Summer internships are the most valuable opportunity that an intern might be involved in. So it's an extremely important aspect of their career. And so their partnership track or non-partnership track. Partnership track are those on partnership track, obviously. Non-partnership track would be that associate attorney. In the firm I worked for, we actually called them, might have even been two different. There were contract attorneys, and there were associate attorneys, and there were partnership track attorneys. And the contract attorneys were more of kind of on a, well, they were on an annual contract. They held in there as long as they were needed, worked on special projects and that sort of thing. Stratum 2, so this is in the middle of the pyramid. We're dealing with more in this group than Stratum 1. These are the federal government, large corporation lawyers. They're government attorneys, federal judges, etc., cabinet officials, but they're a small percentage of Stratum 1. But they are nonetheless, Stratum 2, nonetheless they are included in the Stratum 2 nomenclature. And it's mostly made of in-house corporate attorneys. What corporate attorneys do is they assist with strategic planning whenever there are important legal implications involved. They monitor the business activities, making sure they're compliant with statutes and government regulations. In-service education is an important aspect of a corporate attorney's position. So they are educating people within the corporation to comply with the laws and regulations. They also serve as a liaison to a national law firm. So there may be a Stratum 1 or even a Stratum 2 in the national field. And so they'll represent the corporation on retainer. So a retainer is where, let's just imagine a monthly fee. If we need you, we can call you. If we don't, well, thank you very much. You got paid anyway. So that's not an uncommon practice in law firms in a couple of different instances I can think of offhand. But they prevent problems. You know, if you think about the statutes and regulations, if they're monitoring that to ensure compliance, I mean, that's clue number 1 of the preventive law service. Stratum 3 is the biggest, and it's huge. 70% of American lawyers are in the Stratum 3 group, and half of them are private solo or 2-lawyer law firms, and 30% of them are admitted to the bar and have non-law-related jobs. Stratum 3 also, here's a quote from the book, "No nation has the lawyer population ratio of that found in the U.S. Stratum 3 falls in such a large group." This is why I've included that quote here. And, we have a lot of lawyers. We have a lot of lawyers in America. Since the 1950s, the number of lawyers has grown twice as fast as the population. So those numbers continue to rise. In other countries, there's a different, there's 3 times the ratio of England, 9 times the ratio of France. By 1991, U.S. had 281 attorneys for every 100,000 persons, and Germany had 111 per 100,000, and England and Wales had 82. those, it'd be interesting to see what those statistics look like today. The prestige is not as great in a stratum 3. And Joseph, notice that Joseph Hale of Houston earns up to $25 million annually, and he is a solo attorney. And I don't know if he's still doing business. This was in 1990. Who knows? Close to 1990, 1989. Solo attorneys predominate the stratum 3, and these are the reasons why they often take that role, because they do lack the prestigious legal education and social background. Yes, this stuff still exists. By default, they end up doing the dirty work of the bar. Their income is dependent on their family, neighborhood, ethnic group, and local political contacts for clientele. In other words, their income sources, those places where they recruit clients or where clients learn about them, is through these, their family and other activities that they are partaking in life. Other stuff in the stratum 3, there are franchise law firms, self-help firms, and do-it-yourself firms. Lawyer training. Well, we talked about this in another lecture, but a bachelor's degree, and usually from an accredited ABA law school, passing the state bar exam, and they have to be licensed. And the reference for this material here is from this book, Law and Justice, An Introduction to the American Legal System. It's a 6th edition. I think there is a newer edition, but I'm not really sure. I know I bought one recently, so not really recently, but I should look into that. But anyway, thank you for your time today. I hope you found this to be helpful. Kind of place yourself in where you want to work if you're heading into law. If you're heading into business, it's also vital to understand where you might be seeking out the best type of lawyer for your business services. So have a good day.